各位，前印度文化委员会主席提出了一个敏感却又现实的问题，那就是印度在美国和中国眼中是否已经正在失去战略重要性呢？特朗普时期让印度看清了一个现实，意识形态并不驱动美国的外交，利益才是核心，而印度在这个利益体系中的位置正在动摇。他指出，特朗普并不在意制度或者战略的连贯性，而是把所有外交关系视为交易。一旦出现个人不满或者被误解，美国政策的方向随时可能会转向。印度曾经以为自己是印太格局的关键力量，可以借助中美对抗扩大影响力。但现实是，如果中美达成了成本更低、收益更高的协议，印度有可能随时会被边缘化。他更直白地说，特朗普若发现中国与巴基斯坦的合作能够帮他赢得诺贝尔奖，他也会转向。这一句话道出了印度真正的担忧，不是美国是否强硬，而是美国是否稳定。在讨论印度自身的时候，他提出最严厉的反思，印度并未充分抓住提供战略价值的机会，虽然军力有所增加，但经济增长缺乏深层的工业化支撑，就业仍高度的不稳定，农村青年大量陷入隐性失业。如果印度无法创造足够的生产性就业，其国际影响力就无法真正的扩大。他警告道，我们以为中国会永远需要我们，但事实是他们不再咨询我们了，因为他们知道我们不在同一个层级。这一句刺耳的判断反映出印度对自身竞争力的焦虑。在讨论中印关系的时候，他指出一个结构性现实：中国尊重实力，而不是潜力。过去中国还会向印度寻求意见，如今中国在技术、制造业、AI 和供应链等领域的领先，让印度难以建立对等的话语权。他认为印度需要更强的经济吸引力，才能在谈判桌上拥有更多的筹码。而谈到美中关系对印度的看法，他分别做出了总结。美国视印度为重要伙伴，但不是不可替代的。只要与中国的合作更有利，美国随时可能调整方向。而中国尊重印度，但不会改变自身的立场。他们始终以实力逻辑判断对手，不会因为情势的变化而改掉老虎身上的斑点。最后，他提出一个现实主义的建议：印度必须专注于自身的增长，而不是把希望寄托在外部力量的竞争上。我们太容易在还没有到达前就宣布已经到达了。只有当印度真正变得强大，才会重新被世界视为关键的力量，而不是顺便被拉上桌子上一位参与者。让我们看一下视频。
Trump is a businessman, and for him, clearly, it's not the ideology, democracy, Republican, which counts really. For him, it's dollars and cents, and even from Biden's time, even from before Trump, USA knew that the number one rival in the global geopolitics, geoeconomy, strategic thing, the number one rival is China. Now, while in the case of the earlier governments, when they have to deal with China, it is not simply trying to marginalize other friends. For example, for democratic government, European Union, NATO, India, Asia, Indo-Pacific would remain as important as before even, and they would try and deal with China in different manners, in terms developing leverages. For Trump, the obvious way to deal with China would have been whether you can have a deal with China in terms of trade or not. If you can have a trade deal with China, if China and the USA can come together in terms of critical economic issues, Trump being a businessman, ideology really goes on to the margins and it doesn't matter anymore. India, unfortunately, and I'm being very, very forthright about it. India, when we began to develop, well, I'm not, that's a wrong word to use, but we were complacent. The China is going to forever remain a rival of the USA, and the USA and China can never come together, and therefore we can ride on that wave of anti-Chinese philosophy and become the number one power in Indo-Pacific, at least in the region, and grow from there. If you do that and knowing very well that the equations can change, I think there is a danger. And I did see, at least my expectation was that it will be easier for Trump to make a deal with China than the other presidents. And when that happens, we will feel rather left out. Again, I think there was one discussion somewhere where I use a word that Trump is highly volatile. And I was corrected, not volatile, temperamental. I said, whatever word you use, but we know what he is. The fact is that he's an egotist. He has a huge ego riding on his shoulder. And we have seen whether it was a case of Ukraine, we know the first meeting in White House, or it was a case of North Korea, anyone. At any given point, if Trump feels that he has been slighted, or that he has not been understood, or he is being demeaned, derogatory behavior, he becomes very vicious. And to be truthful, when the suggestions came right on the day one after during Operation Sindhu when it ended, and he said, or his office said, that his mediation attempts between India and Pakistan have succeeded. This war has ended. Otherwise, it would have led to the loss of millions of lives. Hyperbole, but he did say that. And immediately, without even waiting for a day, our reaction was that there was no mediation. I did think at that time that it is not going to go down well, to be very mild about it. It will not go down well with Trump at all, and Trump is going to come up with really a strong response to India on that account only. We also forgot, we thought that Pakistan can never come in the good books of Trump again. And we completely forgot that for Trump, these things are all transactional. If he finds that he can do trade with Pakistan, and if Pakistan and China can again help him in getting on the number one position or Nobel Prize, so to say, then why not? And when Asim Munir comes up with the offer of the rare earths, with the all kinds of things, and Nobel Prize invitation suggestion, I thought that was an easy bait for him. So Pakistan, China, they all came together, not really geopolitically, but the impact. The first and foremost thing that we need to do is grow ourselves. We are doing well militarily. I think financially we are sound, even though there are different opinions, because there is not much of capital formation in the private sector. Whatever is happening is infrastructure development from the government. We should focus on our economic growth. And the economic growth basically means not just really welfare, not subsidies and welfare, but ensure that people are putting in their capital, labor, resources, etc., into service industry, etc., etc. Number one. Technology. China has taken a march over the USA simply because they developed technology. AI. China is far ahead now. So develop technology, and technology means basically not just keep us repeating what the others are doing or tweaking those things. We have sufficiently intelligent people here. Jump over. What next after AI? Think of it. We are not thinking ahead. Technology. So grow economically, technology, military is okay. Financial markets, we should be sound. Once we are strong ourselves, and countries like the USA and China do understand that they need to understand our strengths. Let me give you an example. 2010, when I just came to Delhi and I was heading ICCR, China was still far ahead of us, and we knew in terms of asymmetric power, there is nothing that we can do in the immediate run to match Chinese power. But China was quoting India. China was calling India, China was consulting India, China was asking India how far, what is that. They don't do it anymore simply because they know that we are not, even not there, but we are not even making an effort to be there. So do that. And once you develop that kind of market leverages, etc., I think half the battle is won.
That's in the long term. In the short term, how do we handle Trump?
In the short term,
Is there a
No,
trade deal happening?
I know. In the short term, there is a word called lump it.
Okay, lump it.
Lump it for the time being. And there is no harm.
So we basically sit it out.
We basically sit it out. For the time being, as I said, as we are growing, as we are developing ourselves, there will be people who will be doing all kinds of things. We don't need to be bothered about that. We focus on ourselves. And once we have, जब ताकत आ जाएगी हमारे पास, तब हम उनको दिखाएंगे कि हमारे पास ताकत है. उससे पहले कोई फायदा नहीं है.
If we can talk a little more about the G2 part of the equation, how do you think this G2, is this G2 world actually a reality or is it a multilateral world?
We have been
G2 meaning, of course, for the viewers, it's a group of two.
Yes. We have been talking about multilateralism and we have been talking about plurilateralism simply because we know that in the real world of China and the USA, give basically not contesting with each other, even though USA is far ahead, but China is hoping to catch up within 2 decades, 3 decades, or whatever. So, the real world is actually two powers on the top, and China has declared openly, they have said clearly, that their intention is to overtake US. So once it is clear, then where is the doubt? USA is quoting China simply because they know that there is no way out of it. And as far as we are concerned, if we remain stuck in the same quagmire, economic quagmire I'm saying,
You think we are stuck?
we are. I mentioned about the private capital
Yes.
formation, employment. What we have, keep talking about the growing employment figures and everything. What we have is underemployment, huge underemployment in the rural areas. Then private savings, where are they going? So we need to get out of, I challenge you, you go out to any rural area or even Mufassal town, you will see huge number of young people standing near the pan shop, around the ready wala, just basically having pan, smoking cigarettes, and watching mobiles. Bus stops, you will see the same phenomenon. It's basically because there is no employment for them. So reality is that we need to do a lot more in terms of productive employment for the people. That will increase the consumption. That will give a kickstart to our own industry. Another example I will give you. So I'm sorry, I hope that I'm not talking too much.
No, it's
but,
okay.
Let us look at it this way. When the USA announced tariffs against India and China, compare our reactions. I will not speak too much, but I think the policy would have been much better, our policy.
Why don't you speak? I mean, why? Huh?
No, see, one thing, I think GST changes or welcome changes because the reduction of GST would give an incentive for consumption to increase. Very good. But what did we do in terms of diversification of our exports? What did we do in terms of diversification of our production? We change. Any business, when you see that you are not getting success where you need to have it, you look in the other directions. So I think this is what China does. China, when USA increased the tariff, China simply said that, all right, no more exports of rare earths to the USA.
But China has that leverage, as you mentioned.
No. The leverages are in your mind. You can see. I really don't know what we can do. I'll give you an example again. Okay. Uh, Even when China was not very developed, China was buying a lot of iron ore from India. And the main supplier was Kundramukh. Kundramukh had negotiated a deal with China. Prices agreed, quantities agreed, everything. The supplies had gone to I think Paradip port or somewhere which was the port for lifting Kundramukh iron ore. And these were not iron ore; these were nuggets. So the ore was processed, concentrated, and turned into nuggets. And suddenly Chinese thought that this price is too high. We must negotiate the prices further down. I would call it unethical.
Obviously.
But they knew that we have no other options. They stopped lifting iron ore from the port. So what do? Either you block your storage space or you agree to their demands. Another example is funny actually. So again, this depends upon how you think. Rules of origin in the World Trade Organization. Uh, there's a chapter in the USA which keeps track of all the ships which have been condemned, which have been launched that year, and how many ships are on the high seas. And somebody found that there was a kind of an error somewhere. There seemed to be more ships on the high seas than at the what added up. You know what Chinese were doing? Chinese were buying those condemned ships, convert them into mobile factories, load the ore, etc., the raw material from China, do the finishing, etc., do part of the finishing on the high seas. So it has not originated in China. Take it to the port of the country to which the goods have to be exported and finish the goods over there. So what kind of rules of origin will apply there? They got away scotch free. First of all, I really plead with you, Johita. In case of foreign affairs, do not look at the Islamic angle or the Hindu angle. Uh, there are Hindus and there are Muslims and there are all kinds of people in the USA. If you look at Bangladesh as Islamists, we will lose the Hindu culture angle. We have to look at them, what is our interest? And that interest is not limited to just one religion or the other. That interest extends to our interest, our influence in the area. So first of all, I will not go into the case of Islam or Hinduism or whatever it is. But I think what we can do is to become a real partner in their development. It doesn't require, our decision making is so slow. We may promise the end of the world, but our action is very slow.
But we were doing so much for Bangladesh, except for maybe the Tista water problem.
You said it. You said it.
But then we also have our domestic compulsions. How do you handle Mamata Banerjee?
Take her into confidence. I don't think, look, I have grown, I'm 53 born, 54 born actually. So I've seen the evolution of the foreign policy of India, if I can say so, even if I don't remember much of it. Now, I know it has become fashionable to be critical of Nehru, but given the circumstances that we had at that time, no resources, just people, vision, and what we want to be, we were playing a game far above what we were. And we were successful. Non-alignment was not just a question of creating a group of, not taking a decision. It was just like creating global south. You get the countries together who can join voices. I know in the United Nations, even in 1991 when I was there, the NAM group was looked at with great degree of respect and wariness. Because the NAM group, if they decided, they could turn the fate of the resolution one way or the other. So that is the power. So what I'm saying here is that we need to work. I think now the vision of Global South as created by Prime Minister Modi is a great vision. Get the countries of the Global South together. Let us think alike. Let us talk. And I think we should do it more often. So develop our platforms. See where we have the common aspirations and work on them. China had begun to give signals at that time that they are wary of Trump's arrival. All right. So China had played the game much ahead of the time, and they knew that if they want to go anywhere at all, they want to first sort out their neighborhood. So they began to give signals, and we accepted them, but we thought that we can get along with both China and the USA without realizing that USA can actually reach us. So now that USA has actually reached us, now that the USA and China are getting together, even though, as my friend has said, they will remain rivals, but they will be rivals who will deal with each other, who have to do trade with each other. So once they have come to this stage, does China need India?
Right now, it seems China needs India.
For what?
Okay.
Tell me for what? Trade? China has larger trade, global trade through ASEAN than with us. So whatever we are buying from China directly can come to us also through ASEAN, Thailand, Singapore.
So, of what do we have any leverage against China?
I don't know. I think the only leverage I can talk about is we can talk about the regional pulls, etc., etc. But for the time being, I will come back to the same thing. Unless we become economically attractive enough for China, we need to be careful. For China, one thing that I admire them for is a great self-respect, great capacity to face difficulties and stand upright. I don't want to sound as an admirer, but that is what they are. So I don't think that there are any easy ways out. We have to, as I say, face difficulties and grow up.
Yeah. And also, let's not forget, a leopard never changes its spots.
No, a tiger doesn't change the stripes.
And China will definitely not change either spots or stripes or fire-breathing dragon, whatever it is.
No, but why do we underestimate ourselves? We have a tendency to announce our arrival before we have arrived.